Judge who fined mom over parking gets taught costly lesson. Expensive fine. She could not believe that she let the parking fine increase to such a substantial amount. If she just paid it when she received it, she wouldn't be in court right now. The judge did not seem to care about her difficult circumstances. When her daughter spoke in court, something happened that left her speechless. Busy day. For Miranda Kent, the morning had already been a hectic flurry of breakfast, last-minute errands, and dealing with a screaming 4-year-old. The afternoon promised to be just as crazy. Her oldest daughter was 8 years old and in the middle of a slew of birthday invitations. Miranda now had to race across town to make it to whatever classmate was on the 3 p.m. docket. No space. Thankfully, this one had clear signs of a party, with a bundle of bright balloons attached to the mailbox. But when she saw the parking situation, her heart sank. Not only was this a busy street, but every available space, including the driveway and lawn, was taken. There was only one spot left and it was the worst possible one. No choice. It was on the sidewalk. The only other open space was blocks away. So, Miranda signed and drove up onto the curb, well aware that she was parked in a very illegal space. She hoped in the couple hours they would be at the party, that no one would complain. But when the cake was finished and games were done, she came out to an unwanted sight. Caught red-handed. There, under her windshield wiper, was a bright yellow parking ticket. She signed and opened the envelope. The dollar amount made her head spin. It was $100. To some people, it might have been manageable, but to her, it was a staggering amount of money. There was just no way she could pay this. She had lost her gamble, and it was about to get worse. Couldn't pay. The $100 fine quickly turned into $300. Since she couldn't pay anywhere near the dead, the fine had increased. She was now stuck between a rock and a hard place, with only one option left. She had to go to court. Things didn't get any better when she landed the 8 a.m. slot and had to rush over with her kids in tow. Miranda had no idea that her daughters would affect the entire outcome. Taking it to court. Miranda sat near the back of the courtroom, listening to the other people pleading for their cases. Her youngest was fidgety and her 8-year-old looked confused and scared. When it was her turn, she begged her kids to be quiet for 10 minutes and took her place at the front table. The judge seemed like a fair person. Maybe he would cut her a break? Cold-looking judge. Ms. Kent, I see here you're here because of a parking violation? Miranda muttered a worried yes and quickly explained the nature of her situation. His face was stoic. He had probably heard 100 sob stories like hers before. Suddenly, he asked a strange question. Those are your daughters? Would the oldest like to approach the bench? Bringing up her daughter. Miranda stared at the judge with wide eyes. Why did he want to question her daughter? Her 8-year-old took tiny, worried steps to the judge's desk. He motioned for her to stand beside him and held the mic up to her tiny mouth. So, what do you think we should do about your mother? She broke the law. Should she pay? Giving a choice. Her daughter gave a tiny shrug. The judge continued with a strange line of questioning, things like her favorite subjects in school, did she like the cake during that particular birthday, and what she wanted to be when she grew up. Finally, he said, well, how about we give you 4 choices? First, she could pay the full $300. Second, she could pay the original $100. Third, we could bump it down to $50. Or, we could reduce it to 0. What do you think? Tiny judge. The moment her daughter muttered $50, the entire courtroom giggled with amusement. Miranda had just been railroaded by her own kid, but then again, in a very fair way. But when her daughter reached down and held her tummy, the judge asked what was wrong. The 2 words she would say would change everything, 2 words. I'm hungry. And when he asked why, her little girl explained that they had to leave early for court and had no time to eat. It was then the judge said something Miranda would never forget. Well, how about instead of the $50, she takes you girls out for breakfast? Which would you like? Her daughter immediately said, breakfast. A fair ending. Another wave of amused chuckles rolled across the courtroom. The judge smiled, his expression finally turning warm. "Okay, breakfast it is." Miranda felt the weight of the day melt from her shoulders. And with that, their case was over. She was ready to fulfill her promise, and she knew exactly where. Keeping her promise. There was a 1950s diner in town that served all-day breakfasts with portion sizes that were a challenge even for a grown adult. As she sipped at a steaming cup of coffee and watched her two girls scarf down pancakes like the world was ending, she couldn't help but smile. A good man. The judge was a truly good man. He had seen her struggle and come to a fair decision. The breakfast bill had been just under $35, so her fine was not only far more manageable, but she got to spend a wonderful meal with her kids. It was a much-needed spark in the faith of humanity.